Okay, so the question is, do you think that whiskey needs a reason to exist? Now, what I mean by that is I've got a friend who I won't name, who has a belief that's sort of a guiding principle, and I think it's really valuable, and it is that a whiskey, in the creation of a whiskey, it needs a reason to exist. It needs a reason to put your energy into it, to put it into a bottle, to release it into the world. And so often I think what he's talking about is the times when you see people doing sort of a sourced money grab combo, where it's like, hey, let's just get a fancy bottle, source something, bottle it, and then promote the crap out of it. And that sort of goes against the ethos of artist, right? Or in the almighty words of Jeff Goldblum, you were so preoccupied with whether you could, you never stopped to consider whether you should. So I get that for an artist that's frustrating, really frustrating, actually. Because you spend all this time and all this effort working on something, you know, maybe you're a craft distiller and you're going grain to glass, and every aching inch is just bled onto the floor of the distillery, and then you put all your effort into the store and you get it out there, and then everyone lines up for a no-age statement Ardbeg release, which I would probably do. But I'm going to land on something, which is the words of Niels Bohr, who was a Danish physicist, won the Nobel Prize. The opposite of a correct statement is a false statement, but the opposite of a profound truth could very well be another profound truth. And what that means is, yes, if you're just worried about facts, yeah, you're probably gonna get something wrong. You can tell something's true or not true. But when you get to profound truths with a capital T, their opposites are often a conflicting truth. As we say here at Wizard Academy, justice and mercy, which one's true, right? Do they ever come in conflict? Hell yes, they do, right? So I'm going to contrast this truth of like a whiskey needs a reason to exist with another thing that I think, but first let's talk about the whiskey. This is Campbeltown Journey. This is a gift from Sean Hayes, who wanted us to try something that was Scottish. So Douglas Laing is the bottler on this, and they did this series, Hunter Laing is the bottler on this one. And they did this series where they're sort of doing a blend of the best of each of the regions. So they had like a Hebridean, they had an Islay. Anyway, this is the Campbeltown, and it's just blended malt. So only malt, but from Campbeltown. Don't entirely know what's in it, but it definitely has all the hallmarks of a great Campbeltown. It's got that honey cream. It's got that slight phenolic, not quite rubber, but just hefty, meaty note to it, even though it's not punchy, smoky. There's definitely a hint of that industrial kind of whiff of smoke. And then like poached pear. I think it drinks way softer than it smells. So there's kind of a soft honey cream that goes through the palate, and then it ends kind of short and dry. But it's great. I really like this. I think that it would land really well as an introduction to Campbeltown. I think previously, I think I would have gone with like maybe a Kilkerran, or there's that new one that we did was Campbeltown Lock, and that was pretty good, but it was a little bit more punchy. This is kind of more of a soft, delicate approach to what Campbeltown is capable of. So here's the question: what is art? As a songwriter, I made my living in songwriting and performing a lot. I'm sort of allergic to the idea that a song needs a reason to exist. And it's not lack of thoughtfulness. It's just, if I approach as a songwriter a world in which there's already enough great songs, then what am I ever going to do with my life? I think sometimes adding your unique voice into the mix that's enough of a reason for something to exist. And so I want to hear what you have to think about love and life and the struggle and the joys of everything that are going on. And I want to hear how you as a songwriter or a poet or an author or a whiskey maker approach the idea of putting something magical into the world. We're creative creatures, and so the very act of trying to create something, I think, matters. And I would argue that that's what my friend means. But you could get stuck on the language of this needs a reason to exist and begin to think that, like, well, it has to be perfect and it needs to have a unique, independent reason, or else there's no point in putting it out. And I think the unique, perfect reason could just be, this is your offering to the world. I think if you just buy 20 barrels of MGP, dump them together in a tank, put it in a bottle, slap a label on it, and then hope to get rich in whiskey, then, well, yeah, that's bullshit. But if you need to source from somewhere, or blend, or partner, or work with somebody else, you haven't even made anything yet, but you want to add and create something new, then take the whiskey, age it somewhere it's not normally aged, finish it, blend it, do a cask strength releases, whatever it is that adds something that matters to you and that you think belongs in the world. Do that thing, and then put it out there, and then stand behind it. And don't give a shit about all the people in the world who will be like, oh great, another MGP. And I am absolutely guilty of that actual sentence. Oh great, another MGP. But if you're doing something interesting and it speaks to who you are and who you want to be, then I think that that's enough. I think that that's something worth doing. If you can bring your voice and your story and your take to the table, and you can put it into a whiskey bottle, and you can put it out into the world, and I think that's something worth hearing, worth smelling, worth tasting, and I think that you should do that thing. This is a good whiskey. So, cheers to you. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm glad you're here.